Okay, we are ready to get started. So thank you everyone for being here. Today, this is the second webinar of the series during our Zero Waste Challenge. And for this Zero Waste Challenge, about 50 people have officially registered. And the aim of the Zero Waste Challenge is really to raise awareness and to also create a community of practice around zero waste and protecting our ecosystems and restoring our ecosystems. And today's topic is really important because plastic has become one of the major pollutants and the major destructive items for our environment. And we have a distinguished panelist who will be speaking to us in a few minutes, and I will introduce her to you. And I will ask you if you can put your camera on, Hewitt, this would be great. So before we get started, I want to give you a little bit of an overview about plastic. So plastic actually is a very recent phenomenon. Um, it started being industrially produced in the 1950s. And then production really ramped up in the 70s uh, and showed really an exponential growth of production. And like I said, it's a really relatively new phenomenon. It's around 70 years old, which is like two generations. And in my lifetime in Ethiopia, I've also noticed the ramping up of plastic. When I was a child, plastic was such a precious thing that we all kept a few plastic bags, like as if it was gold, and we would return them, reuse them. But that no longer is the case. And now we feel like plastic is really a major part of our life. And it is true. It has made a lot of things more convenient, and it also has made some things accessible. Uh, but we also see it's visually you can see how much of a problem it also has become in our cities, in our natural environments, even in our spiritual places. There is nowhere where you don't see plastic, and plastic has been found, you know, from the depth of the ocean to the top of Mount Everest to fetuses, breast milk, and embryo. So plastic has really become such a big problem and also a convenience maker in our life. And um, currently, around 460 million metric tons of plastic is produced annually, or rather, in 2022, annually 460 million metric tons was being produced. And if the business as usual scenario continues, the production is expected to triple to 1.31 million metric tons by 2060. And also, the majority of this production ends up as waste. Either it goes into our landfill, 40% of it, and 14% of it is incinerated, and 36%, a large proportion, goes into the environment. And only 10% of the production is being currently recycled. But also globally, the focus has been on marine pollution, but obviously plastic has a far-reaching impact. It goes into our freshwater resources, our lakes, our rivers, our groundwater, and we end up consuming it, which is how we find, plastic in the brain and the embryo and breast milk. It also goes into our food system through soil pollution, and it also has air pollution impact, from landfills, from burning it, and from different kinds of decomposition. So, and we're here now with a plastic negotiation treaty in the works. And this started in 2022. And until then, there was no comprehensive treaty internationally to tackle plastic pollution in its entirety. which is from its production to its disposal. And now we have the INC, which is the International Negotiating Committee on Plastic Pollution. And the next negotiation is going to be in August in Geneva. So today we have with us Hiwat Hailu, who has an illustrious career in the sustainability field. She studied botany and then also many other certificates on sustainability from the University of California in Berkeley and from the Swedish Institute. And she's worked as a sustainability manager in the textile industry and also was an auditor for Rainforest Alliance. And more recently, she's working with the Environment Protection Authority as the chief of staff. She is also the focal point, Ethiopia's focal point to the INC, the International Negotiating Committee on the INC-5 on plastic pollution. And Hiwat, I welcome you to this session on discussion on plastic pollution and the international treaty and the ongoing international conferences to conclude an international treaty around plastic pollution. Welcome, Hiwat. I would also like you to maybe say a little bit more about yourself, because I feel I have missed out on a lot of, things that you have done in your life and why we invited you here. So, Hiwat, you have the floor.
Thank you, Milha. I'm sorry that I couldn't be on video. I have a poor connection, so it affects our, conversations. So I apologize for that. I'll try in the meantime. So dear participants, dear management of audit, it's my sincere pleasure to be part of this webinar, and I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to you, Milha, and audit for bringing the plastic issue now here in a timely manner. Just to briefly introduce myself, I'm just currently working as a chief of staff for the Environmental Protection Authority of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia. And previously, I've been working in different national development initiatives like the Industrial Parks Development when I was working with the Industrial Parks Development Corporation under the USAID support program and the US Forest Service program. And then with the Ethiopian Investment Commission under the USAID private sector development program through the market systems development program of the USAID. And previously, I was involved in agriculture sustainability and industrial sustainability when I was working with private sectors, and also with the Rainforest Alliance, as you mentioned earlier, as a sustainability manager. I think this is enough about my career, and I studied biology and then botany, my MSc, and I have sustainable business leadership diploma from the Swedish Institute, and also environmental leadership program from UC Berkeley, as you said, and many others related with environment. I think this is enough for now. And Milha, over to you, just to proceed with with our topics.
Thank you so much, Hiwat.
Thank you.
Again, I would like to thank you for being here on a Sunday, you and all of our participants. So let's dive into it. The first thing I want to ask you is, what is the INC and what does it aim to achieve? What are its objectives? Let's get started with that.
Okay, the INC is established primarily to develop a legally binding international instrument to end plastic pollution, not only on mainland, but also for, marine environments, and also it it addresses a full life cycle approach. And also, it aims to establish a global standards for plastic production and also design and also labeling. It also aims to enhance transparency and accountability for plastic use and waste management, and also supporting capacity building and technology transfer to developing countries. So the INC mainly I would like just to highlight is to develop a legally binding instrument globally. So I prioritize over the objectives I stated, like for now, is to have a legally binding instrument.
Thank you.
And it comprises around 174 countries all over the world. And the INC is trying to bring all thoughts, all decisions of nations to bring together, and also to address, based on a differentiated interest of countries that's evolving through the negotiation process.
Mm-hmm. Of course, the common but differentiated responsibility is prevalent in all negotiations, and not just the plastic negotiation, but also the climate and the biodiversity, because each nation has a different contribution to the problem. And that being said, since you bring up the differentiated responsibilities of nations, how are developing nations involved in this process, and how is the negotiation structured in order to, have a meaningful participation of developing nations? And also, what is the current status of the negotiations? It is my understanding that it's not yet a treaty, has not been yet signed as a convention. So please tell us about that.
So the negotiation committee allows equal representation of member states with the developing countries, often forming coalitions. For example, the African group, and also, regionally, there are groups formed. And now most recently, the BRICS countries has also emerged as one group in this negotiation. And there are also regional consultations prior the negotiation sessions. And also there are capacity building support and funding for delegations from least developing countries like Ethiopia. And also civil societies, NGOs, technical experts are also participating as observers through the negotiation time. So it's structured actually nations to participate and to have an equal voice, as well as, there are groups formed through different regions. For example, groups, BRICS is emerging now. There are countries from Latin American countries as one group. And there are different dialogues undergoing, especially after INC 5.1, before the INC 5.2, just to to bring ideas together and also to bridge the gaps between these groups.
Thank you. And what is the current status of the INC? We are not yet at a legally binding treaty. And so where is the negotiation at the moment?
Yeah, so there are, it has progressed well, but there are points that countries couldn't reach on a consensus. For example, the OPEC countries, the oil-producing countries, have their own interest, and also that's waste management interest. They want to focus on the waste management while producing, or exporting the plastic inputs. And the other nations want to focus on the health aspects and all the concerns of chemicals. So these gaps have impacted the negotiation progress, and that's why we are having the INC-5.2 coming August in Geneva. So, countries, the oil producing countries have their own economic interest, and they don't want to, ban, or they don't want to seize the plastic production or change any design. And also the financial mechanism is also another topic. So at this point, I can't say like this and that in this topics, because our stand as a nation is also is impacted, being an African group, and also, as a newly joined BRICS member. So just let's take it as a general idea that these two groups have their own interests in this regards, but Ethiopia as a nation will reflect, its own interest in this regards. I want to highlight on this.
Thank you for that. I know the UNEA, which is the United Nations Environment Assembly, when this process started, the aim was to conclude this treaty by end of 2024. And I think for any treaty, this was very ambitious. We can see with the climate change convention, how long it took to come to any legally binding agreement. But this plastic negotiation has actually really progressed quite quickly. And I think that speaks to the scale of the problem. And now what is the target? You've mentioned that different negotiating blocs have different interests. And but what is the target of the UNEA? Is it to ban plastic, or because we know from businesses and industrial inputs and how much plastic has become part and parcel of our life, that we most likely will not stop using plastic. So what is the goal of from the UNEA side for this treaty?
Yeah, the UNEA resolution actually agreed to negotiate an internationally legally binding instrument by 2024, and that's to cover the full life cycle of plastics, including the production, design, and disposal. And now the disparity came on the full.
Hiwat, I think we have lost you. Let's wait for her to get connection back. In the meantime, please put your questions in the question and answer box. I already see one question, so please keep the questions coming.
Can you hear me, Miha?
Now we can hear you. We had lost you, so please start your answer.
Yeah. I apologize. I'm out of town, and that's why I'm having a poor connection. Sorry for that.
No, thank you for being here.
So,
So please start from the beginning.
yeah, the UNIA resolution addresses the full life cycle of plastics, but now the disparity came covering, the uh, production and also design, and some countries are supporting the disposal alone, and some countries, some groups are also focusing the production and design. So in these regards, we've been discussing with the INC chair recently to have a continuous dialogue to close these gaps, because negotiation is different countries or groups may have different ideas. So just to reach in a consensus amicably, like in a negotiation process to effect that, becoming close and maybe in a very small group based on
Uh-huh.
bringing these different groups, different thoughts together and have a continuous dialogue, so that they're to develop considerations from different groups and reach into consensus. Otherwise, I'm afraid that we reach to our objective, even the coming INC 5.2. So with the INC chair, we discussed to have this, and the committee is, the secretariat is organizing different dialogues until we reach the INC 5.2.
Okay. So I'm now going to also dive into some of the questions that have been asked by our participants, because they relate to what you've already been saying. Henok says, what are the main challenges to reach a common treaty, which you have alluded to already, that the different negotiating blocs and countries have different interests currently. But if you can expand on that, and also that, are there any specific deals that have been made within the Africa negotiating bloc?
Yeah, the African negotiating group is focusing on the health aspects of plastics. That is, addressing the full life cycle, and the concerns of chemicals are also, fully recognized by the African group. And for the African group and other developing nations, financial mechanism for the transition is also requested. And that's also one challenge that we couldn't get into consensus, because, developing countries, also we can mention China, Saudi Arabia, all the oil producing countries are developing countries. And so the developed countries are
Yes, now we can hear you. You were telling us about the interests of the Africa negotiating group.
Yeah, I was talking about the financial challenge. So the developing countries needed further details and also further explanation into articles, into this article, to at least address the least developing countries, not developing countries, just to contribute for the financial support, to for smooth transition into to get out of plastic production or consumption. So these are the main challenges that are currently encouraged into this negotiation, addressing the full life cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
So when
and
you
also the
talk
financial
about,
aspect.
thank you. So when you talk about the health, that the Africa group is more focused on health, so what does that mean? Are they particularly concerned about this, certain chemicals that are being used to produce plastic, and they want those chemicals
Yes.
to be phased out. Is that what it means?
Yes, that means so there is the observers and also other uh, institutions that are part of these negotiations are requesting everything to be on a scientific basis. And but for now, the African group, for example, is concerned about the health aspect. That means the chemicals that plastics contain. In a single plastic, for example, it's estimated to have 4,234 chemicals that it contains. So it's said that mostly it affects people for organ failures, for cancer, and other related diseases. And also, waste management is part of the group's concern. But primary is the health that's prioritized, and that's led or directed into to negotiate in a full life cycle basis in these regards. And the others want to highlight, as I said earlier, the plastic waste management, to transfer the technology, to finance the waste management facilities and things like that. So the upper stream of plastics can't be addressed in this regard. That means it's the negotiation doesn't cover the full life cycle of plastic production.
Mm-hmm.
Am I
Okay.
clear in this regard?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Very much so. So, what are some of the policies that are being upheld nationally in Ethiopia, that are in line with this negotiation? Or let me put it differently, what's currently in the national dialogue around plastic in Ethiopia?
Yeah, actually, currently, Ethiopia is at the verge of ratifying a solid waste management proclamation that constitutes banning a single-use plastics that's below 0.03 millimeters. And currently, as a EP is the leading institution in this regard, we are having a national Clean Ethiopia campaign that focuses on awareness for businesses and also the community before this proclamation is enforced. So we need a smooth transition. So we believe that businesses needs to be aware of what's coming nationally as well as internationally. Yet we don't know that the negotiation is bringing in the future. But nationally, we are banning single-use plastic. So we have to do it smoothly, and we are planning to collaborate also with financial institutions just for capital mobilization to support this transition for businesses. And for communities also, we are planning a nationwide awareness program, collaborating with regional states and also city administrations.
That's great. So there are also some questions here from our audience, things like concerning non-state actors in the negotiations, and also others who are asking, what can we do to support this process? And others are also asking, what is the role of non-state actors, so, civil society in the negotiations, and also what is being done to connect grassroots level actors in the negotiation and also in the plastic dialogue nationally?
Yeah, CESOs and other non-state actors can be part of this negotiation as observers. So they can't be negotiators. They can support also nations For example, CISOs that are residing in Ethiopia can support EPA during the negotiation, but their main participation is as an observers.
Mm-hmm. And what does that support look like for those of us? So UDET, for example, is a CSO, and there are many others who want to get involved in this process and also to support the Environment Protection Authority in this regard. What do you expect, and what can they do to support this process?
Yeah, just in this process, for example, UDETs or other civil society organizations can support EPA in the negotiation, providing technical support, providing ideas. But I now don't believe that technical supports only can support reaching countries into consensus generally, because political wills are also emerging from different, nations. So just considering that, but from the technical point of view, civil society organizations can give ideas, points, because negotiations need different, perspectives. So in that regards, these organizations can support. But as I said earlier, as an observer, is their participations given from the secretariats.
Mm-hmm. So you can register as an individual NGO and participate as an observer to the negotiations. And that's what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
Yes.
so let's move on to finance. So what are the financial mechanisms currently being discussed in the negotiations to help nations transition to post-plastic scenario?
Yeah, there is a plan to establish a dedicated fund for this process. So there is a dedicated multilateral fund planned to establish to support this process. So it's believed that this fund can support countries to a smooth transition.
Okay. And what is the scale of funding that is being discussed at the moment? Is there a target?
Actually, no, there is not a target. There is not a target, but there are, for example, VCF is financing around 125 million USD. That's stated in INC 5.1 in Busan, and also other funding instruments can emerge, but there isn't any targeted, finance for this.
Okay. And in terms of the type of technologies that are being discussed, are there any technologies that are being discussed in the negotiations? Are there things that are coming out as preferences in the discussions?
Excuse me, Mitha, are you asking what technologies are stated to support this?
Yes, what technological innovations are being discussed in the negotiations, if at all, at the moment? And is there any preference that is emerging?
Yeah, technologies to support waste management are discussed currently, and just to support the transition, just especially to support effective waste management to developing countries. Technology transfer is requested through the negotiation. So it's mainly highlighted related with waste management, not specifically stated at this point.
Okay. And alternatives to plastic, is this an agenda part of the negotiation? Replacements to plastic? or is it only about the plastic life cycle?
That will be planned after finalizing the negotiation. Not currently with this negotiation process, because that will be the next step. Now it's reaching in a consensus to ending plastic consumption. So yeah,
Okay.
currently we are at that stage, and it follows after the negotiation.
And so I'm gonna look at some of the questions being asked, and there's one question from Zacharias, again, around grassroots innovations. Are there any mechanisms, formal mechanisms within the negotiation to engage grassroots innovators, either to implement nationally or to participate into the negotiations?
Grassroots incubators.
Grassroots innovators and grassroots actors. Is there any formal mechanism within the negotiation and nationally to engage them?
Hasn't been any plan. Sorry, Milha.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, give me a second.
Okay.
So until now, there hasn't been planned or discussed in this regard. Maybe innovation, the technology aspects, as I said earlier, the alternatives come after the negotiation is finalized. But now it's not a discussion point in the negotiation process.
Mm-hmm. And Zaneba from Clogging Ethiopia is also asking what is being done around plastic bottles. He asks, you've mentioned already that single-use plastic is being banned.
Yes, actually, as EPA has banned plastic bottles, like using plastic bottle waters in the organization, and the National Bank of Ethiopia followed EPA, and the plan is just at least create awareness before creating the awareness, or just bringing the proclamation out. We can't do anything. The first just we have to create the awareness into the community, into the businesses, and laying the ground for the transition. As I said earlier, capacity building and also capital mobilization should be part of that. So we are under discussion with different institutions for now. And as I said earlier, the Clean Ethiopia campaign will focus it's a 6-month national campaign, and the first month covers plastic. So during that time, we plan just to address 15 million people directly, collaborating with regional and city administrations, and also to address 50 million people through indirectly, because we are engaging with different medias currently. Mm-hmm. So I believe that it depends on the transition, just to ban plastic bottles or single-use plastics in general.
Okay, and in connection to this, have there been formal discussions with the private sector organizations and plastic producers in this regard?
No, we haven't done that. But previously, this Clean Ethiopia campaign, this one is the second one. And in the first campaign, there was an engagement with plastic producers, just including them in the launching event, and also, through different regions and cities have been working with them. And the plan is also to include all producers, in this national campaign.
Okay.
And there is also a plan once we have the proclamation, out for enforcement. There is a plan just to have EPA and the plastic producers to have a direct dialogue.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this is really a great stride, and it shows also the leadership capacity within the EPA to, to already ban within your institutions, single-use plastic, and that it's really a great success that the National Bank of Ethiopia has followed in your footsteps. So along with this, there's
Thank you,
also
Milha.
another question coming up around single-use plastic. When do you expect this policy to come into force? Is there a timeline?
Yeah, it's almost there. So maybe I can't say this and that, but it's already, finalized. So maybe in a very short period of time.
And again, in
It's
connection
finalized.
to this, someone from the Chemicals and Waste Youth platform is asking about e-waste. Is there any mention of e-waste within the current policy that's being developed, or does it exclude that?
E-waste has its own policy, actually. It's a standing policy, proclamation. And currently, EPA is also working with different recyclers. And also, e-waste is one part of the national Clean Ethiopia campaign. So currently, we are creating the awareness and also capacitating the recyclers. And end-to-end management of e-waste is planned for different regions and also cities in the country.
Okay. And how can this platform support your efforts? They're a chemical and waste youth platform. They're running a circular e-waste initiative.
So you mean, can you briefly explain this, Milha?
So this non-state actor, it's a youth chemical and waste youth platform, and they're asking, how can we support you? Because they're running a circular e-waste initiative, and you've mentioned that you also have in your campaign e-waste included, so maybe they can connect with you and have a conversation on how they can support you. And generally, how can
Thank you, Milha.
local organizations support these campaigns?
So I can say EPA is more than happy and is open to all contributors currently. So because we believe environment is an agenda that everyone can be engaged. So we are always open to anyone who wants to support, and especially expertise in these different campaign themes. Just to highlight our campaign themes, like for the information, and also if there is anyone who wants to engage specifically, we have plastic in them. We will launch the Clean Ethiopia campaign on 5th of June on World Environment Day at higher level. And it stays for 3 days, and we'll have high-level speech, and it will have also panel discussions and exhibitions from different companies or institutions who have innovative solutions to protect the environment. And it's based on the six themes. The first one is plastic. Since it needs more time, not only 1 month, we have waste management in general for the second month. And on the second month, we will have just domestic waste, e-waste, and hazardous waste. On the third month, we have water and soil pollution month. And the fourth one is sound, and the fifth one is air pollution, and the sixth one is the environmental and social impact assessment. there is a new proclamation out, an updated proclamation that included the social aspect, and we want to introduce that. And also we want to aware the community to engage them in this process. We will just empower communities to report any environmental violation by by people or by companies. So these are the 6 themes planned to implement in the next 6 months from June to November. So we are happy to have you. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you for your upcoming campaign and the invitation to also support this campaign. And let's shift gears again and go back to the negotiations. There's one question from a participant and one question from me. What does Ethiopia request from the international community, to effectively participate in the negotiations, but also to locally transition out of plastic pollution? You have the floor.
Ethiopia, actually, to be part of the negotiation, Ethiopia requests, support in terms of, travel support and, some other supports that enable delegates, to effectively finalize the negotiation. Otherwise, we'll be part of different groups based on different agendas or articles. But as Ethiopia, we want to reflect our national interest, because as we can see internationally, there are different interests coming out from different groups. So we are highly, emphasizing on our national interests, especially now that's related with banning single-use plastics. And also, this thing is also political, and we have to be somehow, considerate of different perspectives.
Absolutely. In relation to this, Jodahe also asks whether Ethiopia's interests align more to the BRIC, the LDC, or the Africa negotiating group.
Yeah, actually, we are the powerful nation, as I can say, because we are part of the BRICS and we are part of the African group. So that's why we are working with the INC chair and also with BRICS chair, that's Brazil currently, to bring, ideas together and at least to minimize the gaps for INC 5.2. So until we reach INC 5.2, we are working together with the Secretariat to bring everyone together virtually and also in person. But, we have parts that we align with an African group. We have also some parts that we align with the BRICS. So this thing it needs a political will. So at this point, I can say we only, we can facilitate to bring different ideas, the different ideas, at least, to minimize the different ideas and, to close the gaps amicably. Yeah. Okay. But as Ethiopia, we reflect our national interest.
Okay, that's good to know. 2 more practical questions. I'll ask this and then I'll open it up to 2 people who have raised their hands to ask their questions directly. And then we will close the session. So Zaneba is asking whether we can replace the polyethylene bags that seedlings are packaged with.
Mm.
And then Naul is also asking whether there's any support for SMEs that produce paper bags in developing countries from the negotiation from, I guess the question really is about the financial mechanism. Does it support only countries or does it support, SMEs and, non-state actors?
Okay. Yeah, actually, as the EPA, we encourage companies in different levels could be SMEs, could be large companies, just to come up with solutions to replace for, the plastic use, as Zanaba said, for the polyethylene used for seedlings. So we're happy to support in any way. But coming to the second question, it's only for the negotiators that financial support is coming.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a limited resource from the Secretariat.
I see. Okay, thank you for that.
Yeah.
If I would like to add actually on Zaneba's question, my company is also currently working on, my company as an UDET is also working on packaging for seedlings, which are made from plant-based materials. So there are different alternatives in the world, particularly in India, which has gone really advanced in many plastic alternatives, has many different products made out of plant-based materials that decompose. And they've also, produced bags, not exactly bags, but containers to put seedlings into. And UDET currently is also working to develop that for Ethiopia. Just to add on your question, Zanaba.
Okay.
And okay, the people who have raised their hands have now put them down. So maybe let me ask you one more question around the negotiation. Is the negotiation, the international negotiation, influencing policy?
I can say this negotiation started in 2022, and this solid waste management that encompasses banning single-use plastic came recently. So I wasn't there actually, but I feel like, it came after, plastic came an international topic. So the plan of this INC is to have an internationally binding policy. So countries may have their own national policies, national enforcement and policy enforcements, action plans. So these action plans actually will be delivered after the negotiation. So yeah, we can take it this way, yes.
Maybe an additional question around the interests of different negotiating blocs. So the non-oil producing developed countries, what is their interest? Is it around the whole life cycle or the production or waste management? Let's say Europe, for instance.
It depends on their political relationship with these oil producing countries. Some countries who have, a strong economic relationship with these countries may reflect, we've been, hearing, reflecting, some ideas or saying nothing about those topics. But there are also countries who encourage, the negotiation to address the full life cycle of plastics.
Okay.
There are different ideas coming from different nations.
Because in different other negotiations, we see, the European negotiating bloc having very similar ideas. and also, again, the oil producing countries having quite similar ideas. And I was wondering if something similar was also emerging within this negotiation.
As I said, there are different groups, and there is an EU group, but just it depends on the relationship uh, they have with the OPEC countries.
Mm-hmm.
So what makes the negotiation difficult is that countries have different relationship, and it has become so difficult to come with one idea.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Hewitt, for being here with us on a Sunday afternoon to talk about such an important
It's a pleasure,
topic.
Minha.
And I would also like to say a few words about our Zero Waste Challenge. Our Zero Waste Challenge is
Mm-hmm.
1 month long challenge where participants can officially register on our website and make a commitment to reduce their waste or eliminate their waste. And the main idea of this is for all of us to learn by doing, and to also start asking questions, to start becoming more vocal about waste, and also our ecosystems and the relationship of waste reduction and our ecosystem restoration, and really also to create a community. So why we're organizing this web series is also to raise awareness and also create a community of practice for around waste and ecosystem restoration. So really, thank you all for being here, for being interested in this topic, and also for those of you who have already officially registered for the campaign. Really kudos to you for taking action. And for those of you who haven't registered but are still doing action, I would also like to thank you for that, and to keep engaging, to keep thinking about the systematic changes that are required for us to transition out of plastic and also general waste generation and polluting. So our challenge is structured into 4 weeks. The first week really was talking about food waste, and the second week is about talking about hygiene and beauty products, and plastic in both weeks is really prominent. And the next week will be around travel, and the fourth week is going to be on the workplace and the home. So plastic actually really features throughout the challenge, but the challenge is much more also broader than plastic. It really requires us to look at the entire system of production and the entire lifestyle that we lead, and what systems are supporting that lifestyle. So you can find us on many social media platforms. We are on YouTube with different videos, both in Amharic and also English. You can find us on Twitter, TikTok, and also Instagram, and then our website, www.udat.org. And you can also find us on Blue Sky, which is a newer platform, but also which is much more inclined towards sustainability conversations. So please follow us and follow the challenge and learn and engage. Thank you. And also, participants would like to know how they can contact you. I think you're on LinkedIn. You can find her as Hewitt Hailu on LinkedIn and connect with her and ask your questions directly.